really can't compare a CFS body to a normal functioning body because they're completely different in terms of the nervous system, in terms of the stress response, the capacity that it has to function. So don't get caught into that trap of trying to compare yourself to something that's not even in your category. How's it going, guys? Miguel here from CFS Recovery. In this video, I want to talk about this trap that we all fall into, especially with people with CFS or any kind of situation in life when you're struggling, when you're at rock bottom, when you're in the trenches, just trying to grind your way through the day. It's very easy to fall into this comparison trap where you're looking at other people and saying to yourself, well, if they can do that, how come I can't do that? If they got sick and they got better, then how come I can't get better as quick, or things like that. And we compare ourselves not just to healthy people, but to other people on the same journey as us. So we might know people maybe in their Facebook groups, maybe they're in the YouTube communities, on forums, and you'll see them recover. And you're just gonna sit there and feel really bad about yourself because you'll look at them and you'll be like, man, I wish I could be like them. How come they're recovering so much faster than I am? And you start to get into this mind trap. You start telling yourself all these stories. And what you have to realize is that your body is not going to respond like a regular body. Anybody with CFS or anybody with a hypersensitive nervous system, it's going to react differently to certain stimulus. And you can't really look at situations and be like, okay, if this person can do that, how come I can't do that? Because the reality is your nervous system is not in a normal state right now, just temporarily. Assuming that you've been to doctors, you've had multiple tests done, and you pretty much crossed all these illnesses and all these things that could be going wrong, all these organ issues off the list that could be causing this, well, then we can pretty confidently say that it really is a nervous system issue, a nervous system disorder. So with a hypersensitive nervous system, like I said, what would normally not affect somebody that much is going to affect you 10 times more or 100 times more. I remember there were times when I couldn't even fathom how people could go to concerts and listen to loud music or see bright flashing lights. I could not fathom how I would ever be able to tolerate that, because even just somebody turning on the lights, it would give me a migraine. Even some door closing in my house, that would give me a migraine because the sound was too loud, and I just couldn't fathom it. And I would be like, how am I ever going to get to that place again? How am I ever going to get to that normal state to be able to do all these things that normal people don't have to think twice about doing? And, when I looked at kind of like a week's progress and a month's progress, and I was just getting worse and worse, and it would take so long, but just for me to get maybe a little bit better temporarily, I would look at that and be like, well, if it took me a month to go from here to here, in order for me to become normal again, it's going to take like 50 years because that's how bad I was. But in reality, that's not the case. When you have something like this, timelines are disrupted. You don't recover like a regular person, and it's also not steady. So while it may be very slow in the beginning, it may seem like you're spinning your tires and not really getting anywhere. As you make more progress, it speeds up. As your brain starts to shift into a more relaxed, calm state, the symptoms start to go away much, much faster. You start to get energy a lot faster, and things start to have that hockey stick curve going up in terms of progress. So it's not like a steady line up for recovery. And I've made several charts in the past where it's like zigzagging, it's like up and down, up and down. But overall, if you look at the overall trend of it, as you get better, you're gonna have that hockey stick curve of progress. It's just a matter of getting it off the ground. It's kind of like planes taking off. It takes so much energy just in the beginning to get off the runway. And once the plane's in the sky, it's just coasting. It's pretty much on cruise control. It takes very little energy to continue that momentum and continue moving in the direction at like 1,000 kilometers an hour. Whereas in the beginning, it takes maybe 10 times more energy just to get the plane to go from 0 to 200, 300 kilometers an hour, however fast they need to be to get off the ground. So when you're trying to look at a normal body and a CFS body, maybe you're even comparing yourself to what you used to do. Maybe you're looking at like, oh, I could have done this 2 years ago really easily. Or I remember I used to be into fitness. I used to be athletic. I used to be able to go for hikes with my friends. I used to be able to go out and have dinner with friends 3, 4, 5 times a week and whatever. And I didn't have to think twice about it. But now I can't even get outside my house and go for a 15-minute walk. And so when you try to compare the two, they're so black and white, so different. It's like they're not even in the same category. You really can't compare a CFS body to a normal functioning body because they're completely different in terms of the nervous system, in terms of the stress response, the capacity that it has to function. So don't get caught into that trap of trying to compare yourself to something that's not even in your category temporarily. And the reason why I say temporarily is because when I was in rough shape and I was making baby steps of progress, you know, if I had looked at it like, okay, in 1 month I made this much progress, that means in order to get to walking again, like I said earlier, it would take me 50 years, then there's no way I would have had the hope. Or when you have a CFS body, things like colds, flus, viruses, sleep, food, caffeine, stimulants are gonna affect you so much more intensely and have a way bigger impact on your body than it would a normal person. Like for me, I couldn't drink coffee for about 4.5 years. Even today, like I didn't drink alcohol for about 4 years, 4.5 years, until about last summer. There were a lot of social events that I was going to. I was taking a sip here and there. I was getting drunk a lot easier because my tolerance for alcohol was very low. But then slowly the tolerance increased, and then now I'm able to, still a very lightweight, but like I said, my body was hypersensitive in the beginning. You know, things that I'm able to do now, I definitely could not do in the beginning because everything has an effect on the nervous system. Every small thing, every detail that you might not even think of, even sleep, even the type of food you eat. I couldn't tolerate like all you can eat or sushi or burgers or chips or anything like that, even chocolate, because that would hit me 10 times harder than it would hit me if I was normal. So this also comes with managing your expectations that the symptoms aren't just gonna go away overnight. And I've said this time and time again, especially with the brain retraining for chronic pain. A lot of people do it, but they're wondering why they still feel symptoms. Well, look, you're gonna feel symptoms, 100%. They're not just gonna go away overnight. And I know there's a lot of programs out there and people who say like, yeah, I've taught people how to get rid of their symptoms like that. I honestly don't believe it. It's not as simple as just snapping out of it. It's gonna be something that is trained, that comes on, slowly or quickly, depending on your definition of quick. Within a couple weeks to a couple months, you can see massive, massive difference, but it's not gonna happen overnight. You gotta remember that. That's just what I wanted to remind you guys today is don't compare yourself to your past self. Don't compare yourself to don't compare your CFS body to a normal body because they're in completely different categories. And don't feel bad about it too, because this is just temporary, right? If you really soak in a lot of the things that I teach on this channel, a lot of the science, a lot of the different ways to recover, then you would know that you definitely can beat this thing. And yes, it may feel rough right now, but you can definitely get out of this. Like, look at my situation. I was in really, really bad shape in the hospital, could not walk, could not move, could not even sit out of bed. I was getting spoon-fed, and I was able to go from that to pretty much having my life back and having an even better life than before I got sick. When you're constantly comparing your life right now to a normal person's life who doesn't have CFS, or what your old life used to be like, you're constantly going to be feeling sorry for yourself. You're going to be feeling guilty. You're going to be feeling like you need to catch up to everybody else, or you're feeling like there's a certain expectation of you to be a certain way, but you just got to let go of a lot of that and just focus on you. Don't compare yourself to any of that stuff. I always tell people in our program is just, if you are making comparisons, just compare yourself what you can do now and how you're responding to symptoms now versus a month ago. And that's a really good indicator. You don't want to look any further than that. You don't want to compare yourself to 3 days ago or even just a week ago. You want to look at it in month cycles. And that's a really good comparison, because obviously, yes, your old self could do everything without thinking about it, pretty much things that you would have to think all day about now. Like even just going for a walk or going to get groceries. That's one of the hurdles that a lot of people have with CFS, is that they get really anxious going to get groceries because they have to expend a lot of energy, and then they think they're gonna crash. Whereas before, they didn't have to think twice about it. It was just like a normal thing, like brushing your teeth or putting on socks. So just wanted to remind you guys, don't compare yourself to your old self or, you know, a regular body, because that's a completely different story. So if you did enjoy this video, if you got some value out of it, make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Make sure to comment down below. And if you wanted to get around like-minded individuals and really start getting traction in your recovery, then you can also apply to our program down below. It's by application only. We got to make sure you're a right fit for the program, but you can find out all those details down below. A lot of people have been seeing a lot of success. Really, really cool to see, you know, people implementing these things and all the things I teach being put into practice and people actually getting results from them. So I'm gonna leave that link down below. You can see some testimonials, you can see some people's experience with it. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember, you are just one mind shift away from living a life with thriving health. I'll see you in the next video.